Do you see this man? He's the man that actually managed to sell an entire airport that never existed in the first place. And where did the $242 million from the Bank of Noreste go? Well, the offshore accounts of these countries sure got a big fat increase over the period of 3 years. Man, this story is super exciting and sad at the same time. So without wasting much of your time, here is how a Nigerian scammer sold a fake airport for $242 million. Let's get right into the story.
Afro.
The year was 1995. Emmanuel Nwede needed some cash. Some good fat cash. So he went to the drawing board to cook his plans. And since he served as the director of the Union Bank of Nigeria, he was feeling pretty confident he could come up with a plan to make a ton of money faster than the speed of light. He picked up the phone and started cold calling some major banks across the world. The one that answered his phone calls was no other than Nelson Sakaguchi, the director of Brazil's Bank of Noreste. Now, you might ask, why did he pick up the phone to a nobody? You see, when Emmanuel called him on the phone, he wasn't just anybody. He pretended to be no other than Nigeria's Paul Ugoma, who was serving as governor of Central Bank of Nigeria back in the day. Now, this is where it got interesting. He went on to tell him how he had this big opportunity for him, and the only thing he needed to do was to invest $242 million in the quote-unquote new airport that was being built in Abuja, Nigeria. And since Sakaguchi believed the saying, "You make me rich and I make you rich," he totally fell for it. He totally believed Emmanuel. Who is Emmanuel again? Guys, you need to catch up. This is Emmanuel. So, the reason Sakaguchi fell heavily for the scam was Emmanuel promised him there would be a $10 million commission from the deal. Sakaguchi wanted to make some quick money himself, and knowing he would only be spending the bank's assets and not his own money, he quickly jumped on the hot offer before Emmanuel could even change his mind. Gotcha! Now, this is where it got interesting. Over the next 3 years, Sakaguchi wired all of the $242 million to Emmanuel's foreign bank accounts, but since he couldn't have all the money to his name, he had 5 other friends who helped him out with the deal. This way, the Nigerian government couldn't track any transactions. Then the problem started. Nelson Sakaguchi, the head of Bank of Noreste, was taken to the office of Jaime Suarez Lopez, one of the major shareholders at the bank. You see, Mr. Lopez has been asking Sakaguchi to bring him the papers for the past 3 years, and he has been constantly making excuses as to why he couldn't do it. He grabbed him by the neck. "Look, no more stories. I want to see those figures." "What figures?" "Show me the bank records before I shove my hand up your ass."
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
He had no other choice than to tell the truth. "Look, I used the money to invest in an airport." "What?" But you see, Sakaguchi never said how much he actually took. You see, there was an awful lot of activity on the Bank of Noreste. The entire thing started way back in 1995 when Sakaguchi received a fax from someone named Mr. Tarathia Williams, the supposed Director of Budget and Planning at Nigeria's Ministry of Aviation. The fact told the story of a Nigerian citizen who smacked the like button. Sorry, that wasn't part of the story. So this Nigerian citizen told the Ministry of Aviation that the Bank of Noreste was interested in making an investment in their lucrative government project. Sakaguchi's pupils widened and he immediately called them back.
"Hello."
You see, Sakaguchi was interested in investing in Abuja, the recently declared capital of Nigeria, and it so happened that a certain gentleman, "We are looking at you, Emmanuel," told Sakaguchi that the government was looking for a foreign investor for the project. Being a shrewd banker and a second investor himself, Sakaguchi immediately accepted the deal. No one could have ever anticipated a merger of Bank Noreste with Bank Santander in 1997. Shit, Sakaguchi was in trouble. You see, on one hand, Sakaguchi wanted to make that $10 million in commissions, but on the other hand, families like Samuelson and Cochrane wanted to make sure the books were cleared before the merger would take place. But that was impossible because Sakaguchi didn't have an answer to the questions as to why 2/5 of the bank's total value and half their capital had been sitting in the Cayman Islands unmonitored. Things began to unravel back in December 1997, the very year the meeting happened. And soon, after a criminal investigation ensued, the scandal and the investigation spread to countries all over the world, and countries like Brazil, Britain, Nigeria, Switzerland, and the good old US of A were all involved in the investigation. In the end, the Samuelson and Cochrane families had to pay the $242 million out of pocket, and the bank collapsed only 3 years later. Oh, but we have a bunch of Nigerians arrested for their criminal offenses, which means they were all taken to court. At the time, Nigeria had just created the EFCC, a government body charged with investigating financial crimes, in 2002. And just 2 years later, in 2004, they had one of the biggest cases of fraud in the history of the world. But only 5 of their accomplices were brought to the Abuja courtroom. The 6th was actually too old and he KO'd before the sentence. The Abuja High Court charged all of them with 86 accounts of fraudulently seeking advance fees and around 15 more on the accounts of bribery. This was all related to the sale of a Nigerian airport that had never existed in the first place. All of them pleaded guilty. Sykes. This wasn't the end at all. The plot thickens and investigations continued. There were another 4 companies whose names were dragged through the mud in this case, and seeing how the plot thickened, Judge Lawal Gumi wanted to have nothing more to do with this unending case. That's when he said, "This affair happened in Lagos, so what the hell are we doing here in Abuja?" And so they were all dragged out of the courtroom and transported to the Lagos High Court. Knowing that Emmanuel might try to bribe his way out of this one, he was warned against it. But Emmanuel wouldn't be Emmanuel if he didn't try to bribe the executive chairman of the EFCC with $75,000 in cold, hard cash. He quickly learned that you don't try to bribe the head of an anti-corruption agency with corrupt money. So he was charged with another case of bribery of a government official as well as the attempted kidnapping of a witness. However, things started to change after Sakaguchi from the Bank of Noreste was brought into the courtroom. After his testimony, Emmanuel pled guilty, hoping that the court will feel sorry for him and give him a minor sentence. You wish. Emmanuel was charged with 5 concurrent 5-year sentences, which climbed to 25 years of jail time. And that is not nearly where everything ended. The court further took all of his assets and returned them to the scammed bank, plus another $10 million in fines to be paid to the Nigerian government for the troubles. But Nigeria didn't really hold its end of the bargain, as Emmanuel was released a year later in 2006. Good old Emmanuel, after his release, filed a lawsuit against the government for trying to recover his seized assets, and guess what? Emmanuel got $52 million of his assets back. But the lies and illegal activities doesn't end for Emmanuel. He was arrested again and charged with 27 accounts of
terrorism, murder, and kidnapping.
Though he is currently being held at Agawaka prison in Anambra State, locals don't actually trust the police and think that Emmanuel will be a free man once again, thanks to his social status and immense wealth. What's the worst African scam you've ever heard of? Tell us in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of our new videos. As usual, I'm your host Murphy, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.